So chapter 3, molecules, compounds, and chemical equations. Have you ever wondered or thought about how many different substances are there? I mean, if you just read like the package ingredients for like Cheetos or something, there's a whole long list of stuff, right? And that's just a small part. We've been talking about how elements combine to form compounds. There are 91 naturally occurring elements, and so those are going to combine in different ways. And so you can imagine that the number of compounds possible from those combinations is basically limitless. I mean, there's just a crazy number of different compounds. This diversity arises from the ability of elements to combine into compounds. If there were just elements, then we'd be limited to 91 different substances. Let's look at oxygen, hydrogen, and water. What we observe when two elements combine to form a compound is that their properties change dramatically. We know that hydrogen is a gas at room temperature. It has a boiling point of minus 253. We also know that hydrogen is explosive. That's what happened to the Hindenburg. A large blimp filled with hydrogen. Hydrogen is lighter than air, so it floats very nicely, but it's also very flammable. So that proved to not be the best idea. Oxygen, also a gas at room temperature, very low boiling point. Also combustible. You have to have oxygen for something to burn. When we combine these two elements into the compound known as water, the properties change dramatically. Now the boiling point is plus 100 degrees Celsius. It's a liquid at room temperature, and not only is it not combustible, but we use it to put out fires. So something really important is going on when these elements combine to form compounds. We get an entirely new substance, and the properties then are going to be very, very different. If we look at a mixture of the two elements, the difference in properties is not so dramatic. If we mix oxygen and hydrogen together, we have a mixture of gases, and that gas is flammable. When we combine them into a compound, water now is not flammable anymore. The proportions of a mixture can vary. The proportions of a compound are always the same. That was the law of definite proportions that we learned about. So water has a definite proportion of hydrogen to oxygen. There are always 2 hydrogen atoms for every 1 oxygen atom. Here's an illustration. If we fill a balloon with hydrogen and oxygen mixed together, you can have any proportion. You can have a lot of hydrogen, a little bit of oxygen, or equal amounts. It's variable. When we make water, though, the proportions are always exactly the same. And that's a very important distinction between compounds and mixtures. Any questions?